Skyboxes. You can't live with them. You can't live without them. You can't live without them. Today, we're going to do a little bit of Skybox appreciation for one of my favorite games of all time, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. Roll it. I think it's safe to say that there isn't any other Zelda game for whom the Skybox is as important as in Majora's Mask. I guess what I mean to say, if I was going to speak like a normal person, is, boy, that moon, right? The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask is a beautiful video game all about life and death and time and mortality and memory. And one of the most iconic things about this game is that the moon is coming to get you. You have 3 days before the moon crashes down and destroys everything. And all throughout playing the game, you can look up and see that moon in the sky. But what about the actual skyboxes themselves? What about the things that are behind the moon? Now, Majora's Mask takes place over a 3-day cycle, and one of the cool things about the skybox in this game, unlike in Ocarina of Time, is that every day in this cycle has its own skybox, or at least its own interpretation of the same skybox. When you play the game on the first day, you emerge from the clock tower after having been mugged. You walk into the streets of Clock Town, you look up at the sky, it's beautiful, it's bright and blue. The music is rumbling and tumbling. The people are smacking their hammers. None of them have a care in the world, which is beautifully represented by this bright blue skybox. Similar to Ocarina of Time, the skybox in Majora's Mask is persistent from area to area. I know I complained about that to some extent when I made the Ocarina of Time video. Ocarina of Time skyboxes are ugly as shit, which I feel a little bad about. But you know, I said, oh, it's just got one. Mario 64 has like 8 skyboxes. What the f is that about? But Majora's Mask does the same thing. So whether you're in Clock Town, you're out in Hyrule Field, you go over to the swamp, a lot of these places are going to share the same skybox. Interestingly, as I traveled throughout these locations, I don't know if it was just slightly different aspects of the skybox or if they were actually changing, but I remember I went to the swamp, in the southern swamp, and the sky looked so much more blue than it did in the field. And I did a side-by-side comparison, and it didn't actually seem like that was the case. It more seemed like it was the case that the environment was either of a different color that made the blue pop more, or just the way that the terrain was laid out, you could see a little bit more stuff. Because like in the field, it seemed a little cloudier. In the swamp, it seemed a little less cloudy. I just had a realization moment, a really very present moment about how silly what I'm saying is. Anyway, the point is, in Majora's Mask, just like in Ocarina of Time, what you see in the skybox is going to be informed by where you are and where you're seeing it. That's one of the things I think I didn't appreciate when I made the skybox appreciation for Ocarina of Time, which I suppose is ironic. But for some reason, it feels like that aspect of it is even more apparent in Majora's Mask. And part of that probably has to do with the fact that the skybox on each day is different. Day 2, the skybox is overcast. It starts to rain at one point. Interestingly, it only seems to rain in Clock Town and in the swamp. If you go back and forth between Termina and then Clock Town, it'll rain, and then it won't rain, and then it rains. And then if you walk to the swamp, it'll rain, but not when you leave the swamp. It's weird. I never noticed that before. The fact that they changed the skybox to be this overcast, rainy on the second day, I think is a beautiful, I think it's easy to say, oh, the second day's more urgent, and so the clouds are darker. But something about the way the rain hits when you're walking around in Clock Town, it doesn't necessarily feel urgent, even though the music's a little bit faster, and ostensibly rain is kind of a negative mood. Something about the rain in Clock Town, for me, it creates a little bit more of a distance between the urgency you feel as a player, because you're like, oh my god, this moon is going to kill all these people. All these people are about to be murdered, destroyed. They're going to be flattened into a pancake. They're going to be decimated. They're going to be turned into smithereens. But the rain almost lends a weird normalcy to it in a way that makes me feel a little bit more distant from my surroundings, in a way that makes me feel a little bit more, makes the world feel a little bit more normal. I'm not really articulating this well, but anyway, the point is it rains on the second day. It's awesome. The The third day is interesting because I was watching footage of the 3DS remake of this game, and on the third day the sky was green, and I was like, that's dumb, that's way too dramatic. And then I played the N64 version, I looked up and the sky was green. Kind of a weird, nauseating, vomitous vibe. I'm not sure how it makes me feel. I was trying to figure that out when I was playing and recording the footage. I was trying to get a sense of what is it that the green lends to the vibe. I didn't really come to any conclusions. You know, it makes me kind of uncomfortable. It feels a little otherworldly, I suppose. But it wasn't, no big thoughts came to mind. I was just like, it's green. It's fine. I love the color green. Similar to all of the daytimes, all of the nighttimes are different as well. The first night, you see a full, clear night sky full of stars. Don't tell me about how if you put your name and it makes the stars different. I don't care. The second night, the overcast from the second day takes over and leads into that, which then turns into the green clouds. And then on the third night, you get the most stunning pinkish, purplish, almost like the sun never quite goes down. The stars come out, so you get all the star skyboxes, but you always see this glimmer of light along the horizon. It creates this perpetual state of like as though you've just watched a sunset, except it never goes away. It never becomes fully night before the sun comes back up. Super great vibe, and it's not overwhelming. I think in the 3DS remake, someone was complaining how like everything goes crazy and the sky gets all red and stuff. Nah. I'm not here for that. The fact that it's like this subtle, beautiful sky that then, as the moon crashes down, the sun just comes up like normal is stunning. Just brilliant the way that happens. You know, they're not pumping more energy into it in order to inflate how dire and exciting the situation is. They're letting it speak for itself. The sun comes up as normal as the moon crashes down. It's amazing. When you sit there and you watch that timer countdown and you feel your heartbeat going and you're looking at the moon and the moon's coming and it's coming to kill you and everything starts to shake, seeing the glimmer of the sun rising creates this just wild dichotomy between the sun's rising. I'm hopeful. It's a brand new day. I'm about to die. Everyone's about to die. And like the whole game, it just throws together all of these contradictory, gigantic and tiny feelings, giant and small perspectives. And you, if you're paying attention in the way that I do, that's kind of condescending. But anyway, the way that I take it when I play the game is it becomes up to me to put all these pieces together. It reminds me of the movie Titanic. You know how Titanic, Jack and Rose are falling in love or whatever, having sex in a car, you know, doing love stuff. But there's a boat of like 2,000 people dying, and then there's a shot at the end of the Titanic where it pulls way back and you see the tiny little boat. So you're putting together these feelings of, I care about 2 people more than 2,000 people. The 2,000 people feels like the entire world, but then there's also the entire world going on. Majora's Mask just nails that, like, all of the complexity and the drama of a mass tragedy and the way in which it can feel simultaneously huge and like nothing else is important, but also the sun's still coming up. The world continues. It's an amazing thing. It's an amazing thing. Majora's Mask is, you know, not perfect, but it's amazing. The skyboxes are participatory. They are participating consciously, intentionally in what's going on, and I didn't know that before I did this. And that's a beautiful, subtle, you know, storytelling kind of technique. So good job, Mr. Ayanuma. Sorry about that divorce, but you know, the game's quite good. Now, there are a few places that you go in Majora's Mask that do not use the overarching, all-encompassing skybox. One of those places is when you go to Snowhead. That whole place is just using a blank white skybox. Dumb, whatever, who cares? And then if you go to Icona Valley, there's just like a pink color in the sky. Again, not going to complain. You know, not every skybox has to be great. However, if you beat the temples in those regions, you know, each region has a temple, and when you beat that temple, it releases the evil from the region or whatever. The overarching skybox does enter those areas, so you can see the beautiful blue sky in Snowhead or in Icona Valley. You can see the night sky in front of the weird cabin with the creepy flame, which ties everything together nicely. And actually, talking about storytelling with skyboxes, if you think about it, the lack of the skybox really makes you feel like you're sort of far away in the middle of nowhere in a town, as opposed to, it's the same sky as I saw in Clocktown. So it's actually quite clever, isn't it? Skyboxes do so much work, it turns out. or sometimes. And I think that's one of the things I'm taking away from having done this with Majora's Mask is I tried to take some extra time to really dig into it and just see how the Skybox is, as opposed to just, how we did with Mario 64, and I was like, this one's cool, that one's cool, this one's fine, this one's cool. Doing this for Majora's Mask gave me an opportunity to dig in a little bit more and just, just kind of feel how you feel while looking in very arbitrary directions, like at a Skybox. I don't know if that makes any sense. Now, like with most of these episodes, there are a couple of skyboxes within these games that are either one-off skyboxes or they don't technically qualify, but I'm going to bring them up anyway. Some of those include the skybox in the Twin Mold boss fight is, I think technically, it's either a color-changed version of the one in the overworld or it's a unique skybox. Not that exciting, whatever. One that a lot of people probably know and think of when they think of Majora's Mask is the skybox inside the moon. Sorry for the spoilers. At the end of the game, you go into the moon. It's a very exciting time. It's a very violent and tumultuous moments in the game, and then you end up inside the moon and you see this. This is kind of a classic trope, I feel like, at least, you see it in a lot of like anime or like weeaboo games. Xenoblade does stuff like this all the time. And this iteration of the skybox, first of all, has those weird, creepy, smoky things down there, which is fine. But it also does not move, which is one of my favorite things about Mario 64 skybox. One of the things that makes it feel a little bit more otherworldly. I was just playing Star Wars Battlefront 2 the other day. Frozen skyboxes all over the place. Maybe we should do an episode. So as far as theming is concerned, again, you've got these subtle little things that are going on way outside your scope. Frozen skybox implying maybe frozen time. The timer's not clocking down anymore, ticking down. So it's interesting that the skybox doesn't move, right? That all comes together. Another one of my favorite skyboxes in the game, this is going to be very obvious because this whole room is one of my favorite rooms in the history of the human civilization. That is the Astral Observatory. Inside the Astral Observatory, along the walls, are these weird textures that move and simulate, I guess, a night sky or something like that. You can make the argument that this isn't a sky, this is a wall, so it's really a wall box, not a skybox. But in terms of function and in terms of the way that it's used, it's the skybox. It's the same goddamn thing. I never spent a ton of time just looking at it. I was always too mesmerized by the color of the floor. I was always too mesmerized by the music. But it's a beautiful scene setter, and it does one of my favorite things that skyboxes do, which is it attempts to make you think it's three-dimensional and that it goes on forever, but it doesn't work at all. I just love that. And the last skybox in Majora's Mask that I want to talk about, this is one that I'm going to give you a moment to see if you can tell me where it is. I'm going to turn the music off so you can't know by the music. Take a look at this. Any guesses? This is a fake sky painted on the digital ceiling inside of a shop. This man who runs the shop has created a personal skybox on his own walls and ceilings that functions for him in the same way that the skybox functions for us playing the game. I love going to a restaurant when they have fake skies. Amazon Cafe, what the fuck is that called? Rainforest Cafe. And the fact that this guy has a fake outside painted inside his fake shop inside the video game that has a real fake outside, it's just wild. It was such a pleasant little treat to stumble across this as something I could bring up in this video. Just a wonderful little, That's going to do it for skyboxes in The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. I have a feeling, recording this now, that this episode's going to be a little bit long. If that's not working for you, please let me know. But if you're cool with it, great, we'll leave it. However, as usual, I left one skybox out. At least one of you have always gotten this pop quiz correct in the comments. I'm curious about this one. What skybox in Majora's Mask did I not mention? Post that in the comments if you would. Thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate so much that there are at least a good handful of you who are interested in hearing about skyboxes as much as I am about talking about them. If you enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this, you know what to do. Post in the comments, hey, I liked this video, you should do more videos like this. That will tell me that I should make more of those types of videos. I am here to serve you. That's what I'm doing. That's my role. But if you want to be here to serve me, you can go to www.patreon.com/any_Austin. At the moment, my channel is entirely viewer supported, and if you support on Patreon, you will get access to our regular Patreon check-in series where you can ask me questions. I'll answer sponsor them. It's sort of like a video podcast variety show situation. And you'll be able to support the only content creator on YouTube who's regularly making videos, very carefully looking at skyboxes in your favorite games. Is that a good thing? Should I be restrained? It's possible, but that's pretty much it. Thanks to everyone who leaves a comment. Thanks to everyone who, leaves a like, etc. I did notice that a lot of you don't have your notifications turned on for this channel, which I respect. I do that with a lot of channels where I just sort of assume that the algorithm will take care of me. So, you can keep doing that. But if you want to make sure you get notified, certainly, hit the bell. I don't know if I'm ever going to say that again. I didn't like how it felt. Only one more thing to share with you. In my free time, I make a lot of music. That's one of my favorite hobbies. I use that music in all of my YouTube videos. For example, please today enjoy the song. I'll see you next time. Goodbye, everybody.
Why you gotta be so mean to me? I've been waiting here for you.
All right.
If that's the game you play, be an asshole too. Cause I've been talking with your friends and they said you're a trip. They said that you manipulated me. Ooh. And I'm experienced with that. I see it all the time. And if it stays between us, I think it's fine. But every dollar I've ever spent has been nothing but a waste.
I love skyboxes. I love skyboxes. I love skyboxes. I love skyboxes on the N64. I love skyboxes on the N64.